He was America's favorite chimp, raised like a child, sipping wine, brushing his teeth, driving cars, and watching baseball. But in a moment of unthinkable violence, the illusion shattered. He didn't just attack, he mutilated, he disfigured, and he destroyed. This isn't the plot of a horror film, this happened. In a quiet neighborhood in Connecticut, the unimaginable took place when 200 pounds of primal force turned on the woman he once knew. This is the shocking, heartbreaking, and controversial story of Travis the chimpanzee. A tale of love, loss, obsession, and the wild gone wrong. You won't believe the warning signs ignored, the aftermath devastating, and the question that haunts us: was this tragedy preventable? Welcome to Savage Tales, animal encounters where wild meets reality. On this channel, we explore the most intense, jaw-dropping, and often tragic stories of real-life animal interactions that challenge everything we think we know about nature, danger, and the line between human and beast. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most disturbing animal encounters in modern history. The case of Travis the chimpanzee, a beloved pet who turned into a violent attacker. We'll examine how a seemingly gentle companion became the face of a national debate on exotic pet ownership. From childhood fame to a deadly rampage, this story is emotional, complex, and absolutely unforgettable. Before we peel back the layers of this chilling encounter, I want to ask you, our savage-minded viewers, for a quick favor. If you're fascinated by real-life animal stories that are raw, emotional, and sometimes downright terrifying, hit that like button to let the algorithm know you want more content like this. Smash that subscribe button to join our growing community of wildlife truth seekers and adrenaline lovers. And don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss another wild tale that drops every week. Do you think wild animals can ever truly be tamed? Do you feel sympathy for Travis or horror? Let me know what you think in the comments below. We read every single one, and your voice makes this community stronger. Finally, if this story hits hard and makes you think twice about the nature of wild animals, share this video with a friend, spread awareness, start the conversation, because the more we understand, the more we can prevent tragedies like this from happening again. So grab your seat, keep your limbs inside the vehicle, and prepare for one of the most savage animal encounters ever recorded. This is Savage Tales, animal encounters, where the wild doesn't just roar, sometimes it rips reality apart. For nearly 14 years, Travis the chimpanzee had been a permanent fixture in the quiet suburb of Stamford, Connecticut. A creature raised not in a zoo or a sanctuary, but in a home. Born on October 21, 1995, at a compound in Festus, Missouri, Travis was taken from his mother just 3 days after birth and sold for $50,000 to Jerome and Sandra Herold, who would raise him as if he were their child. By 2009, Travis was no longer a playful baby chimp in overalls posing for Pepsi commercials. He was a full-grown, 200-pound adult male chimpanzee, classified as significantly obese for his species. Despite his size and power, he was fully integrated into the Herolds' lives, eating at their table, dressing himself, brushing his teeth, drinking wine from a stemmed glass, and even using a computer. To Sandra Herold, Travis was more than a pet. He was her companion, her constant shadow. And after the tragic deaths of her daughter Susan and husband Jerome, her only emotional lifeline. That Monday, February 16th, 2009, began like many others. It was a mild winter afternoon in Stamford. Sandra had given Travis a cup of tea earlier in the day, reportedly laced with a small dose of Xanax, perhaps to calm his behavior, or simply as part of their routine. Travis had been on edge in recent weeks, and Sandra believed this would help settle him. At some point, Travis managed to take Sandra's car keys and wandered out of the house. This wasn't the first time he had shown signs of independent, even willful, behavior. He had previously opened doors with keys, logged onto the computer, and on more than one occasion, driven vehicles. When she realized he was gone, Sandra panicked. Desperate to lure him back inside, she called her longtime friend and former employee, 55-year-old Charla Nash. Charla was no stranger to Travis. She had worked closely with the Herolds and had been around the chimp many times. But on that particular day, everything was subtly but crucially different. Charla had a different hairstyle, wore different clothes, and arrived in a car unfamiliar to Travis. To the primate, these changes may have triggered uncertainty, anxiety, or worse, fear. Charla arrived holding one of Travis's favourite toys, a red Elmo doll. The hope was that the sight of the doll would soothe him, trigger familiarity, and coax him back home. But what happened next would defy every expectation and every ounce of trust built over the years. Whether it was the unfamiliar scent, the altered appearance, or something deeper within his primal instincts, something snapped inside Travis. What followed next was not a scuffle, not a tantrum, not a momentary lapse in behaviour. It was a sudden, savage and unrelenting explosion of violence, unprovoked, unstoppable, and almost impossible to believe. This was no longer a pet, no longer the son Sandra thought she had raised. This was a wild animal reclaiming its nature, and in a matter of seconds, the peaceful suburban world around Travis would be drenched in blood. The attack had begun. The peace of the suburban afternoon shattered in a matter of seconds. As Charla Nash extended her hand, offering Travis the familiar Elmo doll in an attempt to coax him back into the house, something shifted in the chimpanzee's demeanour. His eyes locked onto her, unrecognizing and alert, filled with a flicker of primal intensity that no one could have predicted. Whether it was her unfamiliar hair, the strange car, or the heightened cocktail of chemicals already in his bloodstream, including Xanax mixed into his tea earlier that day, something inside him detonated. Then chaos. In a sudden explosive movement, Travis lunged at Charla with all the force and ferocity of a wild animal, a 200-pound male chimpanzee whose muscular strength was easily 5 times that of a grown man. He tackled her to the ground, pinning her helpless body beneath his weight. What followed was not an act of aggression. It was an act of destruction. Travis did not bite to warn. He bit to obliterate. He mauled Charla's face with precision and violence. His teeth tore through her flesh with horrifying ease. He ripped off her nose, her eyelids, her lips. He shredded the soft tissue of her face until it was unrecognizable, until it was gone. Then he moved to her hands. With fingers of incredible strength and jaw pressure exceeding 1,000 psi, he severed them, biting through bone, cartilage, and tendon like paper. Sandra Herold screamed in horror. The woman who had raised Travis like a son, now watching in disbelief as he transformed into something savage and unstoppable. She ran into the house and returned with a butcher knife and a shovel. Desperate, she began striking him, hitting him over the head, stabbing him in the back, anything to stop the carnage. She would later say it was like stabbing herself, that the look in Travis's eyes was not one of rage, but of betrayal. As if to say, "Mum, what are you doing?" By now, Charla Nash had gone limp, blood pooling around her in horrifying volume. Sandra believed her friend was already dead. She ran to her car, locked the doors, and frantically dialed 911. What she said into that phone has since become infamous. "Send the police with a gun! He's eating her! He's eating her face!" The dispatcher, initially skeptical, soon realized the call was deadly real. Travis could be heard shrieking in the background, high-pitched guttural sounds, while Sandra sobbed and begged for help. It took several agonizing minutes for emergency responders to arrive, and even then, they waited outside, fearing for their own safety. But Travis wasn't finished. Blooded, enraged and wild-eyed, he spotted the flashing lights of the approaching patrol car. He turned away from Charla's mutilated body and charged, crashing into the police cruiser, ripping off a side mirror and attempting to open the passenger door. When that failed, he circled around and flung open the driver's side door. Officer Frank Chiafari had no choice. As Travis lunged at him, Chiafari raised his service weapon and fired 4 times at close range. Travis stumbled away, wounded, bleeding heavily. He made his way back into the house, the only home he had ever known, and collapsed in the room beside his cage. It was there he died, surrounded by the familiar scent of the life he once lived. What Travis left behind was not only a crime scene, but a trail of trauma that would haunt a nation. Charla Nash was barely alive when paramedics reached her. They described her injuries as the most horrific they had ever seen. Her hands were gone. Her face was gone. She had lost her eyelids, her nose, her lips, and 9 fingers. Bone fragments, chimpanzee hair, and broken teeth were found embedded in her tissue. She was rushed into surgery, undergoing more than 7 hours of life-saving operations. In the days that followed, Charla remained in critical condition. She would eventually lose both her eyes to infection. Her injuries were so extreme, the medical staff who treated her were given psychological counselling. The media frenzy that followed was instant and relentless. Pictures of Travis, once the smiling chimp in a baseball shirt, circulated alongside headlines soaked in disbelief and horror. Public debate exploded over the ownership of exotic animals, particularly primates, in private homes. Lawmakers reintroduced the Captive Primate Safety Act, and animal rights groups demanded justice and reform. As for Sandra Herold, she never recovered. Traumatized, isolated and shunned by a community that once admired her, she reportedly tried to fill the void left by Travis by visiting another chimpanzee in Florida named Chance. But the loss of her husband, her daughter, her beloved Travis, and the mauling of her friend was too much. On May 24, 2010, just over a year later, Sandra Herold died suddenly of a ruptured aortic aneurysm. 15 months after the attack, Charla Nash underwent a groundbreaking face and hand transplant. Though her body rejected the hands due to infection, the face transplant gave her a new chance at life and at reclaiming her identity. But even years later, what happened on that suburban street in Stamford stands as a chilling reminder. No matter how loved, how domesticated, or how human they may seem, wild animals are still wild. What happened that day in Stamford, Connecticut, was more than just a tragic accident. It was a sobering lesson about the fine, fragile line between man and beast. Travis wasn't a monster. He was a wild animal trapped in a human world. And that world, no matter how comfortable or familiar, was never truly his. Now, before you go, if this story moved you, disturbed you, or made you think differently about our relationship with wild animals, please take a moment to support the channel. Smash that like button. It really helps us reach more people with these powerful, cautionary tales. Drop a comment below. What are your thoughts on exotic pet ownership? Should animals like Travis ever be kept as companions? We read every comment and love hearing your insights. Share this video with someone who thinks wild animals can be tamed, because they need to see this. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Savage Tales. Animal Encounters for more intense real-life stories of animal encounters that changed lives forever. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you're first in line when our next story drops, because trust me, you won't want to miss it. Thank you for watching, thank you for caring, and thank you for being part of a community that values truth, awareness, and respect for the wild. This has been Savage Tales, Animal Encounters, where nature never apologizes.